Everybody hates TikTok for whatever reason they hate it, but it has become low-key the best free advertisement for any business ever. We're progressing, even though we feel like the world is falling apart around us.
That's the blessing and curse of social media. We're trying to sell, but then they didn't realize the property was tied up because
it's owned by grandma
or the brothers. And this lady was like dragging her feet because once she found out that the sister-in-law was entitled to some profits, she had rather the deal fall through than to give her sister-in-law a lick of any of the proceeds. And that's what we're in as a society, where we spend so much time consuming the news, so much time on social media, watching the gender wars, watching the black and white wars that, you know, people try to pit us against each other. We're in this constant emotional state, constantly attacking each other, constantly attacking others that have nothing to do with it, and not actually making any real progress.
We have a legal accountability, and then we have the emotional and spiritual and mental accountability of the calls and the meetings. And so we have literally created a family business versus you doing everything yourself and then it falls apart and now it's costing everybody $1,000 to unravel something that was meant to be good.
The wealth gap. The median black household wealth in the U.S. is about $24,000 compared to $188,000 for white households. That is devastating.
Hey guys, I would like to welcome you to the family business, where it's time for us to start getting rid of that old saying of getting out of grown folks' business and bringing the family back into business. My name is Pavielle Dortch, and I would like to introduce my brilliant co-host, Kai.
What's up, family? I'm Kai Speaks. Some of you guys are familiar with my face if you are followers of the MDM podcast, and I'm just super excited that Pavi and I have connected with this show. Pavi, what are we talking about today?
Well, today we're discussing, is it generational? Actually, we're giving you why we're doing this amazing show.
Yeah, we could probably start there, yeah.
Yeah, let's give you an insight of what brought us together and why we're trying to achieve something that hasn't been done for generations.
Yeah, I thought that it was timely when we had you come back on that show the second time, and you were, sharing how you wanted to start a podcast. And I'm like, Pavi, you're a perfect person for a podcast because, like, you just this wealth of knowledge and in an ecosystem that our people are just so foreign to and so unfamiliar with. And so I thought it would be huge. And now that we're collaborating on the space of this beautiful studio, which, by the way, you guys can absolutely book the Hive at Ponce on the website. The link will be in the description. That's the shameless plug for today. But since we collaborate on this space, we started getting closer working together, and the opportunity came that I could help you produce. And then the opportunity even came further that we could put the show on the $1 Million Mind platform. And I think it's appropriate because these conversations matter. They relate to that entrepreneurial spirit. They relate to that money mindset, that $1 Million Mind mindset. And so our people just need to get back rooted into these conversations. Like you said earlier, it's not about staying out of grown folks' business, but bringing the family back together in business and having these tough conversations. And that's what we're here to do. Introduce these tough conversations, right?
Introduce them, navigate them, break them down so you can understand them. And then we really want to hear from you, because sometimes the best way to learn something is through somebody else's story. Mm-hmm. Like, my favorite way to learn things is through parables. I read every book that's a parable. So, and this is another plug. At the end of the show, if you enjoyed anything that we presented and you want to have us deep dive and analyze something that's going on in your life, please send us a DM.
Yeah, every time. I think, like you said, going back to the stories, you submitting those questions, telling us like some things you're going through, asking us to walk you through it, provides a lot of context for other people that may feel a little bit more embarrassed to share that may not necessarily know the right words or understand what they're even dealing with. And then once you ask that question and we kind of explain it, they're like, that's kind of like what I'm going through.
Right.
I didn't even know I was going through that.
That's
this is super helpful. And Pavi, I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but some of our audience know that prior to the podcast, I was in real estate as well as a wholesaler. Oh. And so a lot of that's how I met Jazz.
Okay.
And so you guys know Jazz is the co-host on the MDM podcast. I met Pavi through Jazz, as Pavi is like this amazing real estate attorney. She is a great problem solver, a great listener, a great caregiver. So like she just gives great care and attention to all of her cases. And that's how Jasmine kind of introduced you to me. But going back into the real estate, I would connect with families all the time who were dealing with these probate issues, who were trying to sell, but then they didn't realize the property was tied up because
it's still owned by grandma.
The brother or the brothers, the deceased brother's wife, still had rights to the property, and she wants. I literally had a family. It was a woman who I was working with for 6 months because I was on the acquisition side and I transferred to the disposition side. I was working with this lady for 6 months because that's how long it took. At one point, I literally was the one who got the contract on the acquisition side. I got promoted. Then it was on the disposition side, and I'm trying to get the deal closed. And this lady was like dragging her feet because once she found out that the sister-in-law was entitled to some profits, she had rather the deal fall through than to give her sister-in-law a lick of any of the proceeds, even if it was like just a small percentage. I think it was like she was entitled to $15,000,
right?
But like she was going to get like $95,000, and it was so insane to all of us involved in this deal. And she was just like, "No, I don't care. She's not getting anything. She didn't work hard." And it's like, family. This is why we have these conversations, because that is crazy. That is insane to be that naive and to carry over that much
resentment.
Yeah, resentment.
To disinherit yourself because you want to punish somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about this, getting back into the family business. Our community was once one of those very prominent communities when we worked together. We may have not liked Mary down the street, but when it came to the public, nobody knew we disliked Mary.
Right.
Like we were a united front. And so that scenario shows how we have devolved as a community. And so that's what one of the objectives for this show is to get us back together, thinking of, because you make more money when you work together. And sometimes, and how I tell people in those situations, I'm like, treat that as your tithe and just say, hey, God, I gave her $15,000 that I really don't think she deserves. So let's amplify that and bring that back into the family as an investment.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so, I mean, the purpose of this show, y'all, is for us to merge our experiences, from my experiences and the stories that I've seen wholesaling to Pavi's extensive experience with all of her cases that she's dealt with, and how we can kind of tell a story that makes it all make sense to you guys, and so that we can kind of evolve again as a family. One parable that I like to share, Pavi, is the one of the black ants. And it's a story about like how if you put black ants and red ants in the same environment, nothing happens. They just go about their business. They continue. They segregate. They separate and they stay in their colonies and stuff like that. But the moment you shake that environment, you shake that ecosystem, they start to kill each other. The black ants attack the red ants attack the black ants, because now they're wondering why this ecosystem, why this environment that they built is being shaken.
So they're blaming each other.
And they start blaming each other. And that's what we're in as a society, where we spend so much time, consuming the news, so much time on social media, watching the gender wars, watching the black and white wars that, people try to pit us against each other, to where we're in this constant emotional state, this constant flight or flight mode, to where we can't think logically. We're thinking emotionally and constantly attacking each other, constantly attacking others that have nothing to do with it, and not actually making any real progress.
Wow. I had never known that about black and red ants.
Yeah, it's cool, right?
It is pretty cool, because that, in essence, let's look at it from a historical perspective. Shaking up the colony is like integration in American society. Because you got to remember, prior to integration, black communities were wealthy. We were prominent. We were moving. We were shaking. Oddly enough, some of the teachers that were moved from black schools to white schools were predominantly black teachers, because they were great at their craft. They were able to take the little that they had and turn it into something that was great. So that just tells you the legacy of the people that we are. So now we got to remember to work together.
1000%. Even going back to before education, where there was like black women were a majority of the nannies, because they were more nurturing. they were still naturally educators. So like you have the perfect teacher, nurturer, mother, all in one. And so that's why, a lot of, slave women were nannies for a lot of the slave owners. And because they had that natural nurturing essence, that natural educating essence, even though we were uneducated, right?
Right.
So, that's just a little bit more to take it a little bit deeper, that it's already in us.
It's already in us. And that's the beautiful thing. That's the objective of this podcast, is to bring out what we already naturally resonate with into the forefront, into our mind's eye. So we operate in that every single day.
So what do you feel like from a bird's eye lens, like kind of escape yourself for a moment, and look, like have a bird's eye view of everything you've done in the last 5-10 years and put it all into a summarization of where you see us headed from the beginning of those 10 years to now, like what direction you see us headed when it comes to like family planning, real estate investing, and just passing on generational wealth.
So I am super excited from a bird's eye view. So I've been practicing law for over a decade. And what I've seen is there's been a lot of stumbling in the prior generations because no one knew, or everybody made an assumption of how the law works and how heir property works. And oddly enough, everybody hates TikTok for whatever reason they hate it, but it has become low-key the best free advertisement for any business ever, because I'll get calls from people like, I heard about trust on TikTok. Can you do that? Can you explain it to me? Can you break it down for me? And so that idea that we are starting to visit wealth and legacy and growth has completely expanded, especially in an economic climate where everything feels shaky. So it excites me because from that 55-foot view, that Hawkeye view, we're progressing, even though we feel like the world is falling apart around us. It's like we're waking up to what other people already know. Yeah,
that's good. I'm glad to hear that we are waking up. And that's the blessing of the curse of social media.
Yes, it is the blessing and the curse, because with all things, you get good and bad, but it's just a tool. So it's how you use that tool. So our objective to use our tool is to help you understand more of these benefits that we have.
I got a question for you, Pavi, because I had published a post yesterday about how we can get started making decisions together as a family, and it starts with some type of required buy-in. And so I made the point that if we were to get 10 family members together and who could afford maybe $100 monthly subscription into the family business.
Okay, that's $1,000.
That's $1,000
a month,
every single month.
$12,000 a year.
Yep. And each member is, meeting bi-weekly or weekly, sharing goals about business ventures, investments, development, strategic thinking, accountability. And we're meeting and we're talking about all these different things. And let's say family member A says, oh, guys, I'm trying to get my insurance license, but it costs $600 to do that. Now the family business is empowered to get pretty much quick start you into getting that insurance license, because you as a paid member, we can discuss it together as a family, but now we can release those funds to you. Now you don't have to wait. If you got $100 to give, you don't have to wait 6 months to save up for that insurance license. You can get it in the next 30 days. Or, let's say another family member A, needs to start a business, and it's a couple $100 to start that business. Boom. Now you can start your business. And so we're empowering each other to make these financial moves. But at the end of the day, the weekly and biweekly calls are meant to give that accountability so that you can come back, you can share what, obstacles you ran into, what things you've learned. We can keep you accountable, hold you true to your agreements, and things like that. What are your thoughts on that? How could a situation like that backfire? And how could it be set up in a way that truly benefits all the participating members?
So basically what I would suggest is it needs to become truly a family business. It needs to, either operate as an LLC, a family partnership, a family trust arrangement, where it's codified what the objective of the family is. And then it's also codified the criteria for you to access the family's resources. And then what is the expectation on the return in the investment? Because even though we're family giving each other money, there needs to be a return to the overall group so that everybody wants to continue to participate. So let's just say the family pays out that $600 for the license. Well, the cool thing is now we're all invested in an insurance agent that can benefit the entire family.
Exactly.
But what's the payback to the family? And do we get back the investment, $600 plus, however long it takes in interest? So then the next person who comes along can benefit from those resources? Or is it, for the first, once I get my license, I will comp the first few months of everybody in the group's policy. Or I will put a policy in the name of the family business so that, God forbid, anything happens to us, it pays back into the family business.
I like that. I like that idea. I also like the idea of maybe even like for the first 6 months, because that will be the time that it will take to save up that $600, right? First 6 months, he may share, a portion of, she may share a portion of their commissions from insurance claims that they take out or
policies.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if you codify it in one of those different types of agreements, then now you have it in writing. So now we have a legal accountability, and then we have the emotional and spiritual and mental accountability of the calls and the meetings. And so we have literally created a family business.
So is it as simple as like setting up an LLC and making each participating member a operating member, putting them on an operating agreement?
Putting them on the operating agreement.
Cool. Because that's pretty simple.
That is pretty simple.
What can get complex is like the other part, like setting up a new trust or something like that. That can get a little bit more complex.
Well, a lot of things can get complex. I mean, that's why a lot of people fall short in the end, is because with those tools, sometimes it's good to go get help. Because it may cost you, $300 to have an attorney draft an operating agreement, but that attorney can foresee things that you can't. Versus you doing everything yourself, and then it falls apart, and now it's costing everybody $1,000 to unravel something that was meant to be good. It's kind of like a prenup for a business. Yeah. So go reach out to your people who specialize in these things, because then their specialty will save you money in the end.
Well, we know who we need to go to if we need help with the operating agreement.
I would love to help everybody with their operating agreements in the state of Georgia.
Yeah. I wonder how we could effectively set that up for our listeners who are serious about something like that. If they want to get their operating agreement looked at or have you draft up one, what will be the best situation that we can create for them that also doesn't overwork you either, because we need you here. We need you here, Pop. We need you to continue to give us this game, so we can't overwork you. But
you can overwork me. I love to work. I'm a workaholic. I realized that this morning. But you can always just reach out to my receptionist at receptionist@dortchlaw.com, or you can give her a call at 678-732-0449 to schedule a consultation. And then that way I can take a moment, review it with you, and then tell you what you need to do to fix it, or just fix it for you.
That's a great point. I'm glad that we nipped that in the bud, because I'm sure that people are interested in that.
Yeah.
I do want to transition a little bit though, Pavi.
Okay, talk to me.
Because I want, though this episode is meant for us to kind of be, introducing ourselves, introducing the new show to the platform, I do want to talk about something serious too. It's all serious, but the wealth gap.
Right.
And the wealth gap between different communities. And so I have some key statistics here that I want to read. The first one is the median black household wealth in the U.S. is about $24,000 compared to $188,000 for white households and their white counterparts. And for the statistic for me to connect the dots, I'm assuming that this doesn't necessarily classify middle class versus middle class. I'm assuming that this is an average.
The median is the average.
Right.
So it takes the collective from the top and collected from the bottom and averaged them out. So you do have Black millionaires, but you do have a lot of African American people living below poverty.
Right.
A lot more people living below poverty. So yeah, that's a bit. When I saw that statistic, I was a little devastated.
Yeah.
Because I would think now in this age where people have access to make money in so many different ways, why is there such a substantial gap between the two groups?
Yeah, because that's like 5 times. That's more than 5 times.
Right.
Our median.
Right.
Which is that is devastating. And this is coming from the Federal Reserve from back in 2022. So I would be curious to see like what new statistics are out there. Now that 2022 and 2025, the difference in social media is not.
But when I look out there and I see the world, you got to remember 2022 was 2 years after the pandemic,
Right.
when there was an influx of people being unemployed due to the pandemic. So I'm wondering how they've bounced back since then.
Right.
But then also I'm looking at all the help wanted signs. So I'm wondering if people re-entered the market to work again.
But also during that pandemic there was a lot of millionaires also created too.
Right. But
Because-
who
yeah.
claims that they're a millionaire on their taxes?
Yeah, right. Because we do have a lot of people. Oh, and also we have a lot of people who claim they have 7-figure businesses when they still taking payments through Zelle and and Cash App. Cash App can't take that many payment transactions, so there's a little bit of cap there too.
Right.
But okay, so I guess.
So maybe one of the questions is, how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, how do
and what do we
bridge
do
that gap?
differently? Well, I think that's where the family conversations come back in, because a lot of people, where my ex-husband is an educator, and we would talk all the time about how a lot of his students weren't college ready. And I was like, well, maybe they weren't meant for college, because there's so many trades out
Yeah.
here where you can make, like a welder. Welders are so rare now that you can make bank being a welder. And that means putting your headphones on, a mask, and soldering some some iron together. That's a brilliant trade, but no one's promoting trade schools anymore. So a
Yeah.
lot of people are like lost as to what they can do outside of getting a 4-year degree.
Yeah, and getting into debt. Getting into debt and then not only getting into debt, getting into a debt that you can't pay back, because then you're forcing yourself into an industry you don't want to be in, forcing yourself into an industry that wasn't meant for you. So now you're getting physical pushback and divine pushback, because you're not really meant for this.
You're not energetically aligned.
Yeah, you're not aligned, and so you're getting that divine pushback and that physical pushback. So you're like working super hard to get into a field just to pay off some debt, when we can be aligned, kind of get back into ourselves, figure out what do we want to do, what impacts do we want to make, and align ourselves, and it's more natural. You flow into a trade, if that's what it's meant to be. You flow into a school, because you got a scholarship or something like that. You're in a field that you're passionate about. You can easily separate yourself from others. So like, I think that's a huge difference too, is getting back into ourselves and passion over profit.
I love that, because once you're passionate about something, the profit comes.
Yeah.
It comes naturally and easily.
Exactly. So I do want to start wrapping this up, but if we could I think what I want to do each episode at the end before we wrap up is leave our listeners with a question to challenge their minds, give them some homework before the next time they see us again.
Okay.
Did you have anything on your mind?
Homework. Do you?
I kind of do. I think
I literally have 50 thoughts, so
Yeah.
I'm trying to narrow it down to
so.
one.
I think what I want to challenge you guys to start the conversation, initiate the conversation with 10 family members. 10 family members, and see who would be interested in meeting weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. I would try to stay between that weekly, bi-weekly, because we need to be talking more, right? Monthly, sometimes too much time in between, too much stuff has happened. We waste a lot of time just catching up on all the stuff that happened. So weekly or bi-weekly, organize the family, start getting on Zoom, start getting on Google Meet, FaceTime, Hangouts, whatever you need to do, and just start having conversations about business structure, investments, personal development, business development, trades, like who trying to be the next realtor, who trying to be the next insurance man. Like, start having these conversations And then once y'all get serious about it, after doing this maybe for about a month or two, start having a conversation. All right, who trying to put some money up? Who trying to put some money up?
Put your money where your heart is.
Yeah, let's organize and order ourselves to be able to break away from these chains and these financial curses and start building financial and generational wealth.
I do have homework too.
Okay.
If you have a living grandmother or a mother or father or grandfather that's over the age of 65, I want you to go sit and talk to them and see if they have their affairs in order. Because the next biggest thing that you're going to have to deal with is aging parents, especially our generation. So go and sit and have that uncomfortable conversation with them to see where their minds are about their next phases in life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So that's your homework for these next 2 weeks. We're going to be back with new episodes of Family Business every other week, followed by, new episodes of the $1 Million Mind podcast every other week in between. And I want to make sure that you guys know the first link in the description of this video is going to be a link for you guys to connect with Pavi and myself. Put those questions in, put those experiences, those case studies that you want us to kind of break down and share with the audience, share with you guys, give you some feedback on how you can prevent something from happening or how you need to moving forward, or just to vent, and you just need us to kind of vent with you. We could do that too, right? But go ahead, click that link in the description, and we can't wait to hear from you guys. I'm Kai Speaks. Pavi, any last thoughts for you?
Just keep being brilliant and great. It's all in you already.
It's all in you already. Everything you need,
it's already
you already
there.
have. Yeah, yes. It's already right there. So, man, this was great, Pavi. This first episode of Family Business. I'm glad that we were able to, execute it and bring it to life, because I'm always about the passion work, and this is just another thing. I'm already passionate about, content and storytelling and stuff like this, but I'm passionate about our people. And I feel like this is the perfect combination of both. So yes. I appreciate you for being open, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in, tapping in. Can't wait to see you guys next week. We out.